We are going to call to order the Minnesota Education Finance Committee. It is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023, and it is 8:32. We have a full agenda today, so things are really moving along. I am going to present a general education basic formula increase, and then we have Senator Gustafson with comprehensive school mental health services, Senator Mann with school employee health insurance authorization. We have Senator Putnam with a support staff person's requirement for early childhood family education programs, and then we will conclude with Senator Rarick's average daily membership minimum hours for disabled kindergarten pupils. And so we have a full day, and we have a great lineup of testifiers. So with that, I am going to hand this gavel over to Senator Gustafson, and I'm going to present my Senate File 1881.
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's all being laid over. Obviously, so I was going to ask her to make a motion to have this laid over. All right, Senator Kunesh, would you like to make a motion to have this laid over to possible inclusion in omnibus?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for 1881 to be included.
All right, thank you. You may begin when ready.
Thank you. I just want to start out with a little story about when I started teaching back in 1996. And at that time, the legislature actually did mandate small class sizes. And I remember my first couple of years as a sixth grade classroom teacher when I had anywhere between 22 and 24 students, and it was like heaven on earth. I could meet with those students, I got to know those students, I could communicate well with their families. It was really a great opportunity to individualize their learning. And then the legislature decided not to do that anymore, not to fund those small class sizes. And we saw an immediate dip in just about everything in our schools. We saw the classroom sizes grow, sometimes into the 30s. Imagine over 30 sixth graders, especially on a warm spring morning or a spring day. It is not a very sent forward opportunity in the classroom. And we saw that the scores started to go down, behaviors started to rise. We saw that the connection between families and community was much more difficult. And so I've always, looked back at that time as sort of the glory days of my educator days, because we were in a situation where we could, really create a really good community within our classrooms and within our schools. And so with that, I am presenting to you Senate File 1881 to increase the general formula allowance and directing money to class size reduction, appropriating money, and amending our statutes. And I think if we ask any educator, and they will tell you that size matters. Too many students in the classroom makes individualized attention virtually impossible. And that lack of attention affects student outcomes, both academic and in life. In 1996, as I mentioned, I began my teaching career. The legislature recognized the positive impact of manageable class sizes and legislated well-balanced class sizes. Those were the best years that where I could really build relationships with my students and families. And once that went away, well, we've seen those class sizes grow to over 30 students in a classroom with just one teacher. And somehow, we expect the students and the teacher to perform at unrealistic levels. Small class sizes have long-term benefits for students, particularly in the early years of their education. Research shows students with 2 or more years of small classes in elementary school score higher on tests in middle school and high school. They are more likely to graduate and more likely to take the ACT or SAT and attend college. They are also, and I think this is really important, they are also healthier and happier and eventually earn more, which leads, of course, to paying more taxes and relying less on social safety nets. These gains are stronger for students who come from groups that are traditionally disadvantaged in education, BIPOC and English learner students. Small class sizes also benefit educators, giving them more time to teach and to focus on students who need more help. Educators with smaller class size are typically less stressed and feel more satisfied in their jobs, meaning fewer of them leave the classroom before retirement. Unfortunately, in too many districts in Minnesota today, class sizes are getting bigger and not smaller. Starting in 2024, my bill, Senate File 1881, addresses this issue by increasing the state funding formula by 20% in Section 1 of the bill and dedicating half of that money each year to reducing class size statewide. That is in Section 2 of the bill, lines 210 to line 212. The bill outlines minimum class size ratios that the districts must meet, starting at no more than 17 students per teacher in grades K-3, 21 students per teacher in grades 4 through 9, and 23 students per teacher in grades 10 through 12. And this is all in Section 2, Subdivision 6 of the bill. The bill does allow for local control. If a teacher can't be hired to meet staffing ratios, education support personnel could be utilized. This is reflected in the language on line 3.8. Districts would negotiate what makes sense for meeting the minimum class size ratios with the local teaching bargaining unit. As part of that agreement, I recognize that minimum class size ratios may end up being different than the numbers outlined in this bill. Once a district meets those ratios, or if they've already met them because there are those that have found a way to do this, then that dedicated money would go back into the district's general fund. So if a district already has a low class size and doesn't need this bill, they will have additional resources to address the needs of their students. This puts teachers at the table when it comes to determining the kind of learning environments their students are in. They are the licensed experts when it comes to what our students need to succeed. Smaller class sizes are just one of the things that we should be prioritizing as we think through how we are going to give teachers the tools that they need to meet the very, very urgent needs of our students. With the alarming stories that we're hearing from students and parents and teachers about student mental health, a manageable ratio of students to adults in a classroom is a powerful tool that we could use right now to address this rising crisis. More caring adults in their classrooms will help detect the signs a student is struggling with their social and emotional health, and we can address those in a more timely manner. Smaller class sizes are just one way to help close Minnesota's opportunity gap, which is among the largest in the nation. And as I said earlier, research shows that class size reduction has the biggest impact on marginalized student populations. This is a proven way to lift up those students who really do need it the very most. And finally, as we continue to emerge from a multi-year global pandemic, it's worth noting something that must be and really is fairly obvious. Fewer students in a classroom results in less disease transmission among students and educators. Now, we're not just talking about COVID, but things like colds, the flu, stomach viruses, RSV, and a whole host of other infections that have sickened a lot of kids multiple times this fall and winter. Members, class size really does matter. And this bill is worth the investment to improve the lives of our students and their academic outcomes, as well as the teaching profession. And so with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my introduction to my bill, and I believe we have a list of testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Our first testifier is Greta Callahan, who I believe is in person. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Thank you so much. My name is Greta Callahan. I'm a kindergarten teacher on release from the Minneapolis Public Schools, currently serving as president of the teacher chapter of the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. I'm also a mother to a student in our district. I'm here today to testify in support of Senate File 1881. The most important resources in Minnesota classrooms are time and trusting relationships between students and educators. This bill will give us more of both. Students need one-on-one time with their teachers to make the connections that allow them to receive the education they deserve. Without trust and relationships, students struggle to learn. Every teacher will tell you that when class sizes get smaller or student-to-educator ratios improve, good things happen. My first years teaching in Minneapolis Public Schools, I taught at the poorest school in our district. 100% of my students qualified for free and reduced lunch. Many were homeless or highly mobile. I had between 27 and 30 students in those first years. 27 5-year-olds who were never in preschool, and you're responsible for getting them to read is no small feat, let alone adding the struggles of poverty on top of that. Our union fought hard for class size caps in schools like mine, and eventually we won it on a temporary basis. The next few years, I had a class size cap of 18 students. It was night and day what I was able to give my kids and what they were able to receive and gain in the classroom. My coworkers and I would think of our students in years prior and felt so much heartbreak for what they could have and should have had. With smaller class sizes, we could differentiate instruction for our myriad learners, make lessons more engaging and fun. We could adapt to the many personalities of our kids and create opportunities for every student to shine. Joy comes back and academic achievement increases when we are set up to succeed. And research agrees. Gains associated with small classes are strongest in the early grades. Class size reduction often has the greatest impact on students from marginalized populations. Gains from class size reduction in the early grades continue for students in the upper grades, and students who start in smaller classes are more likely to stay in school and more likely to earn better grades throughout their educational journey. Unfortunately, most students in Minnesota are learning in a classroom with too many other students, which affects the quality of education they are receiving. Think of it this way. It's not about teachers trying to teach 40 kids. It's about 40 kids needing to learn at one time. They deserve individualized attention. They deserve differentiated instruction, small groups, and the ability to develop relationships with their teacher and classmates. That's impossible when we have kids sitting on wall heaters because there isn't enough space to add more chairs. Overcrowded classrooms are also driving the teacher shortage, which has been reported in more than 8 of 10 school districts in Minnesota, and I have personally watched this happen before my own eyes in Minneapolis. We've never been paid enough, but now the intrinsic rewards are dwindling, thanks in part to overcrowded classrooms. Requiring teachers to educate too many students in a day is creating conditions where no one feels successful. Students don't reach their full potential, teachers leave the profession, and this in turn creates more turnover and instability in schools, which creates emotionally unsafe conditions for our students. It's a vicious cycle that we are trying to stop. Teachers' unions have been raising these issues at the bargaining table for several years, always over the protests of negotiators on the other side who believe this subject should stay the prerogatives of management. They're simply wrong. Our schools are not businesses. Our students are not market share. They're humans who all deserve a world-class education. You may hear complaints that this policy is unworkable because there aren't enough teachers available to fill all the jobs it would create, and that makes no sense to me. The State Teacher Licensing Board recently reported that just over 38% of all Minnesota teachers who hold a Tier 3 or 4 license are not currently teaching. This means there are plenty of teachers in Minnesota, but there's a shortage of people willing to work for the pay and working conditions offered by Minnesota school districts. It's not credible to say we can't improve your working conditions because of the teacher shortage when we have a teacher shortage because of our working conditions. It's time for the legislature to step in and break this cycle alongside those on the ground floor who know what's best for kids. If you can improve the ratio of educators to students, you're giving kids the time, care, and attention that they deserve. You're giving them room to grow and make mistakes and learn from them. You're making room to give students one-on-one attention when they're struggling so that no one falls behind. You're bringing back trust and joy to Minnesota's classrooms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Callahan. I'll just say, as a teacher myself, for the last couple of years is the first time I saw teachers leaving mid-year. I'd never seen that before, so I hear what you're saying, and thank you for your testimony. I think that was really good to hear. We're going to mix up the order of the testifiers a little bit. Mr. Fry, who is a St. Paul citizen, would like to testify. Mr. Fry, since you were not previously on the list, and we do have a full schedule today, we are going to limit your testimony to 2 minutes. If you'd like to submit anything after that, please do so in writing. We do want to hear from you, but we also want to be respectful of our schedule and the other testifiers. After Mr. Fry will be Ms. Henton, and then finally we will save the best for last, a world history teacher who's joining us virtually. So right now, Mr. Fry, please state your name for the record, make sure you sign in, and you may begin when ready.
My name is Gary Fry, and I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. And we moved to Minnesota in 1990, and I grew up in Northeast Ohio, not about 15 miles from Akron, Ohio. And I just want to be respectful of the senator here who did a lot of work on Bill 1881. But I can remember in 1960, I was in second grade, and we had over 40 kids in our class. We didn't have any problem with attention because our principal was named Mr. Stewart. He had a big paddle in his thing, and when I went to his office on numerous occasions, he says, "I can't believe that Francis Fry's son is here." And he called my mom immediately. So I think there's a better way than putting more money into our education. It starts with the parents. If the parents are really interested in their children, they're going to put some skin in the game, so to speak. And they're going to say, hey, we need to do something to get our kids to learn. It seems like every year I've watched our state legislature spend more and more and more and more and more money on education, but yet the outcomes are still the same. So something has to change. And I think it starts with the parents being interested in their children enough to pay attention to what they're learning. And I can remember with the sickness problem, when I was a kid, either mom or dad stayed home with the kids if they were sick. And there's many times where I pretended like I was sick, and my mom sent me on my way to second grade or third grade or whatever. And I just had too good a health, I guess, yeah. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I would say, please, on 1881, I would respectfully say, please vote no on this, because putting more money into this is not the answer. And our teachers in 1960 felt like it was a calling to teach. They didn't need a teachers union, they didn't need more money. They felt it was a calling to teach, and it was a privilege. So thank you so much. Do I just sign this thing?
Thank you, Mr. Fry. We appreciate your testimony. Senator Kunesh, would you like to save your remarks for after the testifiers?
I will. We can just move on to Mr. Olson.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Steve Olson, please introduce yourself, state your name for the record, and sign in, and begin when you're ready.
My name is Steve Olson. Good morning. I teach social studies at Chanhassen High School. I'm in my second year of teaching. I'm here to talk about how smaller class sizes improve my teaching practice and student outcomes. I'll start by saying that teaching is about relationships. A teacher is a relationship builder. Every day, I engage with my students on a personal level to make them feel comfortable, at ease, and safe in my classroom. However, my class sizes make it difficult to build relationships with every student. I currently teach 5 sections. My average class size is 36 students. This means I have approximately 180 students for whom I need to develop meaningful curriculum, write reliable assessments, and provide timely written feedback, all while engaging with them on a personal level. I try to show every one of my students that I care about who they are, what they need, and where they're going. I also want to bring your attention to research that indicates student outcomes improve when class sizes decrease. A study published in the American Journal of Public Health revealed that reducing class sizes in elementary schools may be more cost-effective than most public health and medical interventions. This is because students in smaller classes are more likely to graduate from high school, and high school graduates earn more and enjoy significantly better health than high school dropouts. Section 2 of the bill takes the framework laid out in the Learning and Development Aid stream and alters it to include the provision that links the aid stream to class size ratios. For grades 4 to 9, a class size of 21 to 1, and for grades 10 to 12, a class size of 23 to 1. I want to end with a short anecdote. In my classes, I have a baseball player who was first in his class, a budding artist who lived in Ukraine for 2 years, a student who wants to be an immigration attorney, and is also in every production our theater puts on, and a student who is balancing working night shifts at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater while maintaining an A in my class. These are some of the students I get to know in my class. However, I know that I have many more students who are leading exciting lives, but it's difficult for me to get to know them because I'm leading a class of 36. Every student deserves to be known by their teacher. Lowering class sizes will help teachers across Minnesota be the relationship builders they are and ensure that their students feel safe, known, and heard. Please consider supporting Senate File 1881. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. And our final testifier is Ms. Hinton. Please state your name for the record, sign in. You may begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Deb Hinton, and I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, speaking on behalf of the organizations representing school administrators, school boards, and principals. There are some areas of the bill I would like to address. When we saw the increase to the formula allowance up to $8,236 in fiscal year 2024, we were delighted. As we considered the language in the bill, we noted that at least 8% of the basic revenue must be dedicated to identified fixed class sizes, and there is little flexibility, as it appears the ratios apply to all classes, including electives. The fixed ratios would make it difficult for districts to assume an influx of students throughout the year and not disrupt learning. Here are two examples. Columbia Heights has welcomed 400 new students this school year alone. Here's a hypothetical example. A family of 5 moves into a district during the school year where teacher ratios have already been met. New teachers would need to be hired for the new students, and consequently, some students may be shifted to another classroom to fill the new section, impacting the relationships the students have with their current teacher and classmates. An additional question we have is around the definition of class size. If a class is team taught in grade 3, for example, does that mean there can be 34 students in the class or only 17? I reached out to school leaders asking the impact of the class size ratios on their districts, and here's what I heard back. Sleepy Eye, with 540 students, would need an additional 3 elementary teachers, and at the high school, several more. Hutchinson, a school district of 2,700, would need an additional 32 teachers at a projected cost of $2.2 million. Renville County West, 545 students, would need an additional 2 teachers in the elementary, 1 more for the high school, and then this superintendent happened to notice that it would require additional specialist time in music and Fayette as well. He estimates the cost to his school district would be about $196,000. Minnetonka, also speaking on behalf of Anoka Hennepin, because that superintendent, David Law, had just left there, said there's no space in either his school district in Minnetonka or in Anoka Hennepin to handle the influx of teachers that would be needed. In Minnetonka alone, it would be, a conservative estimate would be 40 new teachers. In Anoka Hennepin, it would be 5 times that number. Space has been utilized for special education students. Every nook and cranny is full, as we've heard from other testifiers. East Central, up by Sandstone, they would need 4 additional teachers. And lastly, St. Michael Albertville, a school district of about 6,000, just for K-4 would need 42 and a half additional teachers, and in high school, 16, for a total of 58.5 FTEs. I know you are aware of the teacher shortage across the state, so I will ask that you just add that to your considerations, because our school leaders have legitimate concerns about being able to find the number of teachers to fill these positions should the bill become law. We definitely appreciate the spirit of this bill to create lower class size, as we all know that's a goal to strive for. However, it is our firm belief that determining class size is a managerial right, part of the collective bargaining process, and a decision best made at the local level. Thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today.
Thank you. Senator, members' questions. We'll start with Senator Westland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just waiting to see Senator Kunesh might have had some closing remarks she wanted to make first before.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members, and thank you to our testifiers, and especially thank you, Senator Kunesh, for bringing this bill forward. While I have heard the concerns raised by Ms. Henton, I would like to say that we have been asking our teachers to bear the brunt of class size. They have no control over it, and they are asked to do the best that they can with what they have. And our school districts have been asking us to fully fund them and to provide them money so that they can support our education system better. And from my perspective, what better way to spend the money than to say, yes, then we are going to do something about class sizes and stop talking about it. The last thing I would say is there were some comments that suggested parents are not concerned about their kids or involved in their kids' education, that they simply need to care more, and that would address problems. And I would suggest that parents who send their kids to school do care about their kids, they do care about their education, they are involved to the extent that they are able to. And oftentimes we're talking about single parents or parents where both are working. Whenever these discussions happen, there's always a conversation about who's to blame. Is it the teachers? Is it the parents? Who's to blame here? And I think we need to shift our perspective and stop talking about blame and start talking about how we can address the problems that our school districts are facing, that our teachers are facing, that our students are facing, and really commit to creating that world-class education system that we all talk so much about. Thank you.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions for the author. In the area of class size ratios, Part B, you have in there that the district must negotiate to go outside of those ratios. Can you help us understand, is that meant to give the school district an opportunity to go above those ratios if the teacher's unit agrees with that in the district, or what is that section for?
Thank you, Senator Rarick. Yes, so as I stated, we are allowing for local control because I totally understand. We understand the unique limitations of different districts. Our goal is to make sure that there are enough adults in the room to provide the best instruction and those relationships to ensure that our students have the best education and support that we can. And so yes, a district must negotiate a plan to reduce size with the representatives for teachers. So yes, that's all part of negotiation. And a negotiated class size reduction plan may specify ratios different than those established in the paragraph. So if there are unique situations within a school district and they can reach those negotiations with their teachers and their staff, then that is allowed.
Senator Rarick, follow-up?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. So The two notes that I had as I went through this, Ms. Hinton kind of started down that road. So do you anticipate that what we just talked about, that section with negotiating, there are two circumstances that I can think of that could put a school district in a pretty tough situation. First being a lack of applicants for the number of teaching spaces that they would require. And then the second would be especially for small school districts that have traditionally had, say, 3 or 4 classrooms for each grade level. And if they have to go above that, they suddenly do not have the space for that. Is that section the part that you would feel would help address those two situations?
Senator Kunesh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, that would be a prime example of that. But we also recognize the fact that so many teachers have left the profession because of the circumstances that we're talking about right here. And so in this bill, it allows so that if a teacher can't be hired to meet those staffing ratios, that they can hire, for example, educational assistants or other folks to help in the classroom, to be a partner in the classroom.
Senator Rarick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you know, I do appreciate that. The thing that I still struggle with a bit on this is, as a school board, they might see these issues, know that they don't have applicants, but if they cannot come to that negotiated agreement, then they have to make these adjustments, make it work, and they may not actually have the ability to do so. So I think that as this moves forward, I would hope we can have some discussions around that, some of that flexibility piece that might be required in some of these situations. And part of that, you know, I know a number of people personally who have left teaching, and not one of them has told me it's because of class size. And I don't believe if this passes that those teachers are coming back. There were other issues that are not being addressed here in this, and I know a few others. I had a couple of discussions this last weekend with very young teachers, and they are thinking of leaving, and it's not because of class size. So I think there are a lot of other issues that need to be dealt with as well. I know this is, I mean, we all want to see smaller class sizes. I know in many of my school districts, for years and years and years, they have had basically the same numbers going through. I don't know that this impacts them a great deal. I think they're pretty close to these numbers, maybe not exactly at these numbers, but I do think, especially for some of these small districts as well, that have traditionally had these same numbers of students per grade level, suddenly, I remember the grade ahead of me was about 20% larger than every other class around it. And how is a school district going to handle that? Because are they going to shift a teacher all the way up through the grades with that class as they go? Or you know, those are situations that I'm not sure are being addressed for the school board to be able to deal with in this piece as it's written. So thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
Madam Chair, if I could respond. I recognize that there are going to be unique situations for those districts, and that we would like the the districts to start looking at that and thinking outside the box perhaps how to address those issues. But Senator Rarick, if you are familiar with some of the issues in our schools and what is perhaps causing teachers to leave the profession, we would be happy to hear about those situations and speak with those teachers as well. And if you can come up with any kind of legislation that addresses those issues specifically, we would be happy to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kunesh. Next, we have Senator Swazinski, then Senator Cruen, and then Senator Aaron McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Kunesh, for bringing this forward. It's a long time coming. I know everyone on this committee is fully aware of this. You talked about the late 90s being some glory years for education, and Since 2003, funding on the general formula hasn't kept up with inflation. And right now, the funding formula is $6,800 per kid. And if we had kept up with inflation with the so-called glory years of education, we'd be funding our schools at $8,100 on the general formula. And for my, much of the last few years, I've been hounding on let's get back to those 2003 funding levels, and I'm glad to see that your bill does that. And so when I hear people say, when our teachers going to be happy with the amount of money we keep throwing at them, well, let's try throwing at our teachers the amount of funding we were giving them in 2003. And with respect to comments that that's not why teachers are leaving the profession, I think teachers are leaving the profession because they have too many papers to grade, and they can't keep up with the pace of grading papers and getting them back to their students in a timely fashion with comments that are meaningful and relevant to the student growth. And they're stressed out and they're leaving the profession because of the mental health case of many of our students, and they're leaving the profession because of students who are disruptive in the halls and in the classrooms. They're leaving the profession because they're stressed. And I think one of the reasons they're stressed out is they became a teacher because they wanted to build relationships with kids. And they wanted to see that personal growth of a child that goes through their class over a 9 or 18 or 36-week period. And they're not able to see that anymore because teachers have two very, 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 very important jobs. And one is to deliver the important curriculum that they think the students need, and the other is to build the relationships with kids. And when I hear you say class size matters, no. I know that firsthand because I had class sizes of 18 and 19, and within a week, you know every single kid in that class as you deliver curriculum. And I've had class sizes, generally speaking, senior classes of 38 and 39. I don't think I ever hit 40, but I know I hit 38 and 39, and I'd be misleading anybody that I would say, yeah, I think I got to know every kid in that class. It just is different when you have more kids because of it's there, as someone of the testifiers said, our students aren't commodities. They're not things in the economy just to get them through K through 12 and develop them into good career path people. They're human beings that want to learn about Socrates and Shakespeare and Ben Franklin. Okay, there's English social bias there. And so thank you and for indulging me, but it's an important issue, and I'm glad to see somebody willing to step up, and I hope that I can perhaps co-author this bill because I'm fully on board, and so thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Cruin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I talked to one of the superintendents in my district last night about this, and the number I got was 141 full-time equivalents that they would need, in addition to new buildings or additions or both. This is a very hefty increase on the formula, but it wouldn't come near the cost of what would be required to comply with this. And I'm just wondering, maybe this is a question for staff. I mean, I didn't see a fiscal note on this, but surely there's going to be a local impact with this bill, and I'm wondering if that's been quantified.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator, for the question. So the fiscal note is not yet complete, and I do have an estimate of the overall numbers. As for the local impact, I think it would be up to the school district to figure out the class size, and I'm not sure if that would show up in the fiscal note or not.
Senator Cruin.
Well, whether or not it would show up in the fiscal note, it's a real expense and something that the school districts would have to grapple with. And to say that there's local control here is not really the case, because local control would imply that the school board would have the control to make these adjustments, and they really don't, because under the language of the bill, the teachers have the authority whether or not to make that happen, because that managerial right is taken away from the school district. And I heard comment about this decision should not be made by management. Well, what you're really saying is that this decision should not be made by the school board, and really what you're saying there is that this decision shouldn't be made by the residents of the community. And so I think we need to be really careful about just pitting this as a management versus labor issue. It's a bigger issue than that. I mean, school boards right now, residents have the right to vote for school boards. They could enact lower class sizes if that is the will of the community. There's nothing preventing that from happening. But I also heard, where would we find the additional teachers? I won't get into that. That's already been covered. I guess I'm going to focus for now on the definitions section, because my concern here is that we're dealing with old definitions to new ways of working. There's a lot of school districts out there that are being innovative in the way that they staff classrooms. This isn't just a simple one teacher, 17 students type situation. So I'm wondering if under the definitions of classroom teacher, would that include academic specialists?
Senator Kunesh.
To respond to your question, it says classroom teacher means a public employee licensed by the Professional Education Licensing and Standards Board who is authorized to teach all subjects to children in grade kindergarten through 6 through grade 12, and whose duties are full-time regular classroom instruction, excluding a teacher for whom federal aids are received or categorical aids. So, and it goes on, so a regular classroom teacher, and I'm thinking you're talking about specialists such as music, art, library, media specialists?
Senator Cruin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I'm talking about like academic interventionists, academic specialists, not necessarily music or phy ed. I mean, I guess my concern here is the exclusion goes on to say who is not an itinerant teacher or provides instruction outside of the regular classroom. So the way I read that language is it would not include an academic interventionist. And I just wanted to get your take, whether you think that would be included or not.
Senator Kunesh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it would not include them, but I do want to go back to the comment that you made about pitting the school board against the teachers. And I think it really behooves a community and a school district for the school board members and the administration to recognize that teachers are not just, automatic robots in a classroom, and that they are the ones that are boots on the ground. And I would hope, and it would be my dream, that school board and teachers were able to come together in a positive partnership when making decisions around what happens in the schools, and not so much of a top-down or a mandated, you must do this, you must do that. I wish that our school board and administrators would bring the teachers into the conversation and listen to them, not just listen to them, but take into consideration their requests, because they're the ones that are doing the work, and they're the ones that really understand the consequences. And so this is not to pit or to create any kind of a power struggle, but would encourage our school board members across the state to really talk to their teachers and understand where they're coming from.
Senator Cruin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Kunesh, I couldn't agree more. A positive partnership between the school board and the teachers union is always a great thing. And when I was on the school board, we absolutely had that. We were always the first or second school district to reach an agreement with our teachers. But that kind of misses the point. I mean, the language in here does give teachers the exclusive right to negotiate class sizes, but it's the school board that has the responsibility for complying with this law. and for building new buildings and hiring new teachers to comply with it. And they have much broader considerations here with this, and the teachers would have all the power here, whether or not they're going to alleviate the school of having to build those new buildings or not. To me, that would make this much more of a contentious negotiations than, for many school districts than it already is. But that's beside the point. I guess the reason I go back to the definition part of this, and for example, the school district I just was on the school board, Spring Lake Park, we have 8 academic specialists, 2 per grades in grades 1 through 4. Okay, so let's say we've got 100 students with 4 classes, that's 25 per class, which would not meet your ratios here. But if you add the academic specialists in there, that brings it down to 16.67, and we would be in compliance. But what I'm hearing is that that wouldn't count. So even though we've chosen to take a different direction, to be innovative, because we believe that having those academic specialists there actually will provide a net positive result than simply lowering the class size down to, in a traditional model, down to 17. We have the teachers that are actually teaching the students at that level, but they don't meet this definition. And so that brings me back to my previous comment, which is what we're dealing with here, in my view, is old definitions to new ways of working. We want to encourage innovation. We want to encourage new ways of doing things. And I think this bill is too rigid, and it doesn't allow school districts to do that type of work. And then the other thing I would say is that I would love to have a robust conversation about what the studies show on this, because while I'm not an expert on this area, I am told by people who are experts on this area that the research simply doesn't support this kind of traditional ratio being the best way to move forward in producing actual academic results. And that if you do kind of more of these innovative things that school districts like the one I served on the school board doing, you actually get better results. And I think we're taking away that ability. I'd like to have a robust conversation, but it would take people other than me to present those studies because I'm merely being told about them. And I don't know where the school board stand on it. Again, I don't see anybody testifying on behalf of the school boards, which is very puzzling to me, because this would be a major change, a major shift for school boards and some of the work that we're doing. And then finally, on the negotiation language, again, the financial consequences of having the teachers essentially have veto power over some of this stuff, and it could lead to some really unintended consequences financially for a school board. We could see a lot of school boards being in a very difficult financial situation, even with this hefty increase on the formula. And again, to reiterate, it's impossible to be innovative, to create change if you have to negotiate every single class size. I don't think that's the way that we need to go. Thank you.
Senator Kunesh, I'll let you respond, and then we're going to move on to our other questions.
Sure. So when you mentioned the academic specialist, I was not understanding the scenario that you then later laid out. So adding an academic specialist into a classroom that didn't meet the ratio would actually be sufficient with the outline of this bill. And then those robust conversations, I'd be happy to engage in those conversations with you. You haven't brought them to me, up until this point. It would have been great to have had those before this meeting so that we are on the same understanding. And if you'd like to set something up like that or put together a little seminar for all of us, please feel free to do something like that. And then about the negotiations, negotiation, the word means give and take. And it means sitting down and talking about it and finding a way to make sure, you know, we're in a place where everybody could agree, or should agree. And that's what the responsibility then would be for not waiting to the last minute, or not speaking with our teachers when it comes to contract negotiation. Perhaps if we start those conversations earlier and bring in a better understanding of where and what's happening, and we don't have to wait till the last minute to have those conversations and possibly negative consequences to those conversations. So that's what I have to say.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief. I mean, I appreciate that you think that academic specialists fall under this category. I just don't think the language says that. It doesn't support that. I don't think they would be viewed as full-time regular classroom instruction, which is in the definition, and the part with the exception out that provides instruction outside of the regular classroom. I think those are limiting definitions that would actually exclude the academic specialists that I referenced. So if the intention is to actually include those types of teachers into the ratio, then I think the definition language needs to be adjusted, and I would prefer to see specific language saying that they are included, and maybe that would alleviate a lot of the consternation that I've been hearing about. Thank you.
Senator May-Quade.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Kunesh, for bringing this bill. You know, I'm always in awe of the fact that you run one of the best committees I think we have in the Senate here, and you are carrying a lot of legislation that is incredibly important. And you opened introducing this bill with talking about when you started teaching in 1996, and I was in a classroom in 1996. I was 10, and I remember the change. Actually, I remember teachers having enough time to kind of focus on the students who were doing really well, the students that were doing just about right, and the students who were a little bit falling behind, and being able to kind of work with them in different groups. And I remember my brother, who's 3 years younger than me, having it different. So the thing that came to my mind when we were talking about ratios, does a ratio require a separate classroom, or is it a number of teachers to students regardless of how many are in that classroom?
Senator Kunesh.
It is just as you said, it's the student-to-teacher ratio, or instructor or support staff.
Educator.
Educator,
Yeah.
Educator, thank you.
Senator May-Quade.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Kunesh. Okay, because I was hearing a lot about new buildings, and I was thinking, wow, these buildings must be really full if we have to build all these new buildings, but not necessarily. We can just add educators to the classroom. You know, I have a 10-month-old daughter, and she is in an infant classroom where the ratio right now is 4-to-1. And that got me thinking about where else we mandate ratios. And so I was looking at it, and as she gets older, there's still a mandated ratio. When she's 5, the ratio is 8-to-1. But then when she turns 6 and goes into kindergarten, there's no ratio currently. It could be 36-year-olds in a class and 1 teacher.
Yeah.
Senator Kunesh.
Yes.
Senator May-Quade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Kunesh. So from a pure educational standpoint, this makes sense. And in fact, you know, 17-to-1 of six-year-olds, that's a bit much for me, but I applaud kindergarten teachers for being able to do that. This is normal. This is what we do when we are educating children, as we say how many licensed, trained adults need to be in that room to provide that adequate education. And even these ratios that we have here, when you go from 4 and 5 up to 6, 7, 8, double pretty fast. And so I just think this is a great bill. I'm on the bill, but this is what we need. We know that we need this, and we know our students need this, and we especially know that our educators need this. And so I'm really excited to be supporting of this bill, and I appreciate you bringing it before us in such a thoughtful manner that allows for local control, sets forth what we think some of the best ratios are, and then provides the funding for it, which is what we need. So thank you so much for that.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Senator Kunesh mentioned in her opening statement, she talked about how research supports that small class sizes improves performance. One of the testifiers also testified to that. And I won't argue with that. So research does support the fact that smaller class sizes improve to a certain extent, or it could be a factor in improving school performance, particularly in grades K through 3. After third grade, then those results tend to kind of fizzle out and they're not as strong. And so we're making the assumption that, well, because this research indicates that there is at least some growth, some improvement based on class sizes, then we should definitely do it. And I would compare that to if the government were to say walking provides certain health benefits, so everybody should walk 30 hours a week, right, or whatever. And that totally discounts all of the other exercise that would provide health benefits. So when it comes to class size, when you have a list of all of the things that researchers show that improve student performance, class size is about right in the middle. So there are dozens of other indicators that would show better success than saying class size is going to fix this. For instance, response to intervention that you've heard me talk about in regards to special education shows significantly better results in regards to student performance. Having robust classroom discussions, so teaching teachers how to have robust classroom discussions. Doesn't matter the size of the class, that shows better results than class size. As you've heard me mention, student attendance is the #1 indicator of student success, so spending resources to make sure students get to school. And so I think when we look at this, I'm not going to argue with the fact that small class sizes may provide some benefits, particularly in the younger grades, especially sort of what Senator May-Quade was talking about. The younger grades, there's a greater increase in performance in those grades. But what I would say is there are a lot of other type of interventions that we could fund that would improve student performance. That it doesn't necessarily have to be this extremely costly class size mandate. And again, we're always saying we should quit putting mandates on schools, and then we say, oh, except for the ones that we like. And so again, I'm not going to argue with the fact that this may be beneficial, but my point would be that there are things that we could do that would be much more beneficial to our students and to our teachers. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about has to do with what Senator Eric was talking about, why teachers are leaving the field. So I've been calling teachers, and it started out with, are you leaving the profession because you don't have Rule of 90, because you don't have the retirement? And then we got to talking about all of these things. And the #1 thing that I'm hearing, and this is anecdotal, this isn't research based, is discipline. They don't care about how many papers they have to grade. They don't necessarily care about how many students they have in their class, but when they have kids swearing at them and getting away with it, that's what's driving them out of the profession. And another thing that's driving them out of the profession, so we talked about parent issues, and I'm going to look at this a different way, and I think we're comparing, 1996, 1998 to 2023. In 1996, if my dad had walked into a school, or if my mom or whoever, and yelled at the teacher and swore at the teacher and swore at the administrator, he would have been removed from the premises, would not have ever been allowed back on the premises. Now we've put teachers in a position where parents can come in and yell and swear and mistreat them, and we do nothing about it. We put teachers in a position where students can yell and swear and threaten and kick and bite, and we do nothing about it. We need to deal with those behaviors if we really want to improve the teacher experience in our classroom. I don't think class sizes, this isn't the silver bullet. Dealing with behaviors is going to be a big issue. Looking at other interventions, funding things like response to intervention is going to have a lot more effect on teacher morale and on student performance than simply saying mandating class sizes. So I applaud, I know you want to do something. I get it. Teachers are struggling, kids are struggling. I'm just not sure that this is the something that we should be focusing so heavily on.
Senator Kunesh?
Well, thank you, Senator Farnsworth. Luckily, we have a lot of somethings that we're doing. This is not the one and only bill that we are doing this year. We're responsible for putting together an education finance bill. And within that education finance bill, we're going to have the opportunity to address a lot of the things that you just mentioned. One one thing is not going to fix the problem that we have at our schools and in our educational system. And we've heard lots of bills. I had a bill early on that would address the transportation aid. We have talked about different special ed responses and response to intervention. You mentioned that teachers need to have skills. Well, that's why we're making sure, or we want to make sure, that we have trained, educated, licensed teachers that have gone through programming that is going to give them those kind of tools when they are in the classroom. So this is not going to fix everything. I never said it would fix everything. We have a lot of work to do. This is the first year as a team that we are meeting, and I look forward to addressing many, many more of these issues as we move on in the next 4 years. And as I've said so many times, if you have ideas about how to address some of these issues, I'm happy to hear them. I'm happy for you to create legislation. And let's look at ways to solve all of these problems.
Senator Farnsworth.
I just want to comment. Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry. So you said we're doing many things, and I agree we are doing many things. But my concern about this bill in particular is that it is going to be so expensive and so onerous that we won't have the capacity to do a lot of the other things that we know work better than smaller class sizes. And so again, I'm not saying that that isn't a noble endeavor, and maybe with increasing the cross-subsidy, increasing the formula, school districts will be able to lower class sizes just naturally without a mandate. But my concern is that this will be so expensive that it's going to crowd out, we want to cover the cross-subsidy. Well, what if that all gets eaten up by dealing with this mandate? And I agree with you, trained, educated teachers. Again, back to talking about research. So when a few years ago, it was a big issue with teachers getting their master's degree, and there was all this talk about paying teachers more if they, and I can't remember the exact wording, but if they had a master's degree. But the research indicates that teachers that get a master's degree in their subject area actually are better teachers. So for instance, if a history teacher gets a master's degree in history, then the research supports the fact that they know the content better, than they provide the education better. And so I agree with you that we want the best trained teachers. And I think that would also help, with providing that sort of training, that would help with some of the teacher loss and teacher burnout, because they're going to be more confident in what they're doing.
Thank you, members. I'll maybe just make the comment before I hand it back over to Senator Kunesh, but I just left teaching in December to take this job, so I am one of those 38% that somebody quoted about who has a teaching license but is not currently teaching. I always say that you know how stressful teaching was if you leave that profession to run for office. That should give you an indication of how stressful it is in the classrooms right now. I agreed with a lot of the things that I heard people say on both sides. I agree with Senator Cruin that, maybe the language could be cleaned up in the bill where it's an educator to student ratio instead of just saying class sizes, because I always go back to my time teaching at Centennial when I had 42 students in my classroom. We were already at a capacity for classroom sizes, so I couldn't move half of my students to another classroom, but I sure could have used somebody else in the classroom with me. That would have been helpful. And as far as with Senator Rarick and Senator Farnsworth and Senator McQuaid and Westland and everybody, Senator Swazinski, the shortage could be to several things. Like I mentioned earlier, too, this is the first time I've ever seen teachers leave halfway through the middle of the year. That's just unheard of. And it's for a lot of things. It's mostly burnout. That burnout could be because of class sizes. That burnout could be because of behavior. It could be conflict with parents. It could be unrealistic workload. But mostly it's because we have a lack of money and resources. There's just not a lot of help for all of the demands that are put on teachers. This bill isn't going to be the silver bullet that solves all the problems, but like Senator Kunesh said, I think we are seeing a lot of good things coming to our schools, and I hope that can continue. But I appreciate the conversation here. For all my teachers, I'll be back teaching summer school this year, so I'm sure I'll come in with lots of new ideas next year. But I appreciate the bill, and I want to just thank Senator Kunesh for bringing up the bill and the conversation. So if you have closing remarks, and then I can, Okay, Senator Lucero, you have a question or a statement? Okay. We're trying to move on, so that's why I sort of was going to close it out and give it to our author, but if you'd like to make a quick comment, that's fine. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You didn't see my hand earlier. So the question, it's not a comment, I have a question actually. I've been here long enough to know that when there are bills before us that are going to usurp local control to make it more difficult for those that are closest to the community to make decisions, as Senator Farnsworth said and articulated so well, that there are a number of groups that would offer their testimony. So I'm just wondering, among the groups, if the School Boards Association could come up, I'm just curious, what are your thoughts when there are multiple contributing influencers that would help to improve the academic performance of our students? And when we're picking one of them, no doubt a contributing influencer, but there are others that school boards and others could make that might be a better a help to our students. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Thank you, Senator Lucero. I will remind everybody we are on bill number 1, and this would be the second testifier that is not on the list, and I welcome everyone's testimony. I think it's a good idea to hear from everybody, but we have to be mindful of the time and all the bills that are coming forward. If you would like to testify, we would welcome a statement. I would ask that you please keep it under 2 minutes. State your name for the record. If you want to write it on the clipboard too, so we have that, and you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Denise Dietrich. I'm with the Minnesota School Boards Association. And just to be clear for the record, Deb Henton of the Superintendents Association did testify on behalf of superintendents, school boards, and principals. So I will echo the concerns that Deb Henton brought up, is that the per pupil increase to the bill is very welcoming and very much appreciated, to finally take into account of all the years of underfunding on the per pupil formula for all these years. But what we would add, though, is on the concerns. Anytime you start putting in state law teacher to student ratios, that becomes problematic, because there are a lot of questions, nuances on how you figure that out. And in the early 90s, when we were talking about this, that was not without its problems as well. It never failed as a school board member when a parent would come to you and say, wait a second, I thought the state mandated kindergarten or for K through 3 class sizes of no less than 21, and my child is in a class with 22. And then you would have to dig into the details of what did that classroom look like, how many support staff were there helping, and how did we figure out and calculate that ratio, and why did that parent feel like this law did not benefit their child's classroom. So it gets very nuanced. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Kunesh, closing comments.
I think we've heard it all, and as I said, this is not the one bill that is going to fix everything, but it is making an attempt to create an environment that is both welcoming and supportive and progressive for our students, and that's really where we are, looking at how we can best affect our students in the classroom and the teachers that are there with them for hours on end. So thank you.
All right, and with that, Senator Kunesh renews her motion to include this in possible omnibus bill layover to a possible inclusion of omnibus bill inclusion. The words are there. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Senator Gustafson. We're just trading places here. When you are ready, take a seat, and you may begin. And Senator Gustafson, would you like to make a motion to move Senate File 449 to lay it over for possible inclusion in our future omnibus bill?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members, thank you. Before you is SF 449. 1 in 6 young people in the United States, ages 6 through 17, experience a mental health disorder each year. Half of all mental health conditions begin by the age of 14. Attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, behavior problems, anxiety, depression. These are the most commonly diagnosed mental disorders in children. Yet about half of youth with mental health conditions received any kind of treatment in the past year. Having individuals specifically responsible for overseeing and driving the development and implementation of mental health services in our school will ensure that the program is properly organized and executed. Before you is a bill that would put leads to work with school districts, health organizations, community groups to create a comprehensive network of support for students. Additionally, having leads work directly with schools across the state in positions for comprehensive school mental health services will demonstrate the state's commitment to the importance of mental health and well-being for students. They can help increase awareness and understanding of the benefits of these services. Finally, we know our students and families have been through a lot in the past few years, and we've heard from students and teachers that handling mental health issues is a big problem in our schools right now. So this is going to provide a menu of options for schools to use when a crisis occurs or if instances are escalating. This bill came to me before I became a senator or even a candidate. My representative next close to my district, Kelly Moeller, is the one who represents most of the school district where my kids go to school. At the time, 3 of my students were at the school, and there was an uptick, a significant uptick in suicides. And so this students reached out to her to ask for help. When I was elected to the Senate, she asked me to help her do this, and I was happy to do so. When I was a teacher at Centennial, we lost several students to suicide as well. The problem with mental health is not just what you see in the classroom, but the repercussions of what can happen after a student loses their battle with a mental illness. Often teachers and students walk around in a sort of state of confusion and mourning and grief. And the first things we do is sort of lean on our school counselors, which are already overloaded and overworked. And we put more and more and more on the people and the staff that are in our schools to handle things that, quite frankly, they're not always trained to handle. This bill would ensure that we would have sort of a liaison between schools and MDE. And what it would do is be able to have them be the first call that could then send in people, resources, and help in a way that schools are just simply not equipped to always do. Like I said, it does provide a menu of options for schools, and because they're working with schools across the state in urban, suburban, and rural districts, they're able to come in and sort of navigate and let you know exactly how they can help and what steps should be taken in a way that sort of stabilizes and provides real resources instead of people who are not trained in mental health crisis to quickly come up with their own plan. The bill has bipartisan support. It passed through Ed Policy, thankfully, with, I believe, unanimous support. And I ask for that same support today. Thank you. We do have a testifier too, Madam Chair, whenever you're ready for her.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. If there's the cry that we have heard time and time again is for those mental health supports. And I just read an article, I think it was in Sunday's paper, that talked about the rise of mental health issues and suicide, especially around our young women. And I can only imagine how helpful this would be. And so, yes, we have a testifier, Amy Jones. Is she here in person or is she online? There she is. Ms. Jones, if you would please state your full name for the record, and then you may begin.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amy Jones. I'm an educational consultant and the chair of the State Mental Health in Schools Work Group. I live in Shoreview. I'm a 30-year licensed classroom teacher and have worked in education at all levels, including as an elected school board member in the Mounds View District, an administrator in Minneapolis and Stillwater, an instructional coach, a classroom teacher, and an adjunct professor at the university level. I'm an appointed member of the Minnesota State Advisory Council on Mental Health and also a certified mental health first aid facilitator for youth and adults. I've been working with Representative Mueller for the last few years to add a position for a comprehensive mental health lead for students at MDE. We are one of a very few states that doesn't have such a position. We need it now more than ever. During our recent conversations with stakeholders, state agencies, and education organizations, everyone agreed that we also need to add a lead position to support and coordinate improved mental health for school staff and teachers as well. Minnesota would be one of the first states to fund a position to lead, coordinate, and support teacher and school mental health at a Department of Education level. We acknowledge and appreciate all of the work around mental health that is happening at MDE. There are grant-funded positions and programming that is supportive and effective, but all of these are grants, and these grants end, and we know that our schools' mental health challenges will not be ending anytime soon. We need a position with stable, long-term funding to lead and coordinate all of the mental health work. Our stakeholders need a point person, someone specific to contact, someone who can coordinate and disseminate the best resources, training, and practices for the benefit of every student, teacher, and school staff member. Someone who can communicate with stakeholders and seek out promising practices that can be shared and scaled up across the state. In addition, as we move toward adding mental health staff in buildings, this person could support the site-based positions to have access to the best practices, resources, training, and programs with proven results. This would allow these site-based mental health positions to provide more impactful support more quickly and efficiently. Representative Mueller and I have been working to provide additional mental health support in Minnesota schools after seeing a growing and timely need. Senate File 449 will put Minnesota in line with other states that have a mental health in schools lead. This position would not be tied to overseeing a grant, but it would provide that much-needed contact person to address these many challenges. More than ever, we see our school staff and teachers struggling with their own mental health and the increasing challenge to support the mental health of their students. In the midst of the fourth year school year impacted by the repercussions of the pandemic, we have many qualified, passionate, exceptional school staff and teachers leaving the profession. Not only is this a workforce crisis, but the stability of our educational system will be greatly impacted if we continue to hemorrhage these talented and dedicated school staff and teachers. Our state deserves positions to oversee and coordinate this work so that our students and school staff and teachers have the support they need to stay in our schools and be effective and successful. These positions are long overdue, and if the pandemic has shown us anything, it has illuminated this glaring and growing need to improve mental health in our schools. Our students, school staff, and teachers deserve the support. I thank you for your time and hope for your support of Senate File 449.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And does that conclude your testifier, Senator Gustafson? Great. Members, comments or questions? Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we don't have a fiscal note in, but do we have an estimate of what it might be?
I will turn to, go ahead. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Rarick, for the question. You're correct that there is a fiscal note request on this bill. However, it is not yet complete. Similar language has been fiscal noted in previous years, and those fiscal notes showed a cost of approximately $300,000 per year. Though as this is a direct appropriation, the author could choose whichever level of funding they would prefer.
Senator Rarick, you're good? Yeah. Senator Westland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Gustafson, for bringing this forward. We just had a robust conversation about the many different things that our schools need, and you have all heard me harp on adverse childhood experiences over and over and over again. And I will simply say that oftentimes when we do see kids who have behavioral issues, it is often, as Senator May Quaid made a comment to me privately, you know, that's a means of communication. That's a kid often who's communicating distress. And what we know is that our kids have been under a significant amount of stress and trauma even long before the pandemic. And so there may be many, many reasons why that's the case, but we know, again, that for kids who experience toxic stress in their lives, that has lifelong implications for them, and it makes it impossible for them to learn. So I really appreciate this bill. This is close to my heart. I want to make sure that our students get the help and the assistance that they need. We do know for a fact that to mitigate the impact of adverse childhood experiences, it takes one adult, one loving, caring adult for a child to help overcome and mitigate some of the long-term impacts of adverse childhood experiences and toxic stress. And I think this is an opportunity for us to provide some intervention and care for kids.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you. Just quickly in closing remarks, whenever we do talk about mental health, especially suicide, and I know that this is being recorded and we have an audience and it's documented, I think it's a good idea to bring up that the hotline now for the state is 988, or if you prefer texting, you can text HOME to 74174. But this is an important piece that I think educators, families, and students would benefit from and would be useful. So I thank everybody for their consideration.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. She renews her motion that Senate File 449 be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus. Senator Mann. Senator Gustafson moves that Senate File 1318 be brought before the body. Senator Mann, you may begin your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I do have an author's amendment.
And Senator Mann, was this included in our packet? Okay, we'll wait while it gets distributed. Senator Mann, would you like to talk a little bit about your amendment?
Yeah, Madam Chair. It incorporates all of the other sections of the bill that I'm going to talk about together. If I don't have to talk about it twice. I don't know if that makes it easier.
That makes sense. We'll let this get distributed to everyone, and then we'll vote. Is this the first committee that your bill's been in?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Yeah, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and vote on this. It's an author's amendment to get the bill in the order that the senator wants. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, Senator Mann, your bill is in the order. You'd like it. Please begin your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the last 3 years, Minnesota students have gone through quite a bit. There are many things that we as a legislating body can do to help them recover. And one of those things is to stabilize the workforce within our schools to ensure that the relationships that children are building within those walls are preserved. And that is why you have in front of you today Senate File 1318, also known as the Education Support Professionals Bill of Rights, or ESP's Bill of Rights. So ESPs are the backbones of our schools. They are our bus drivers, the nutrition workers, the paraprofessionals, the janitorial staff, the clerical staff. They are the tutors, the translators, the hall monitors. They are the ones who care for our children with special needs. They are the faces that our children see every single day. Oftentimes, they are the first adult face they see in the morning and the last adult face they see before they go home. ESPs are currently the lowest paid workers in our schools. You can walk down the street to McDonald's and get paid more to work there than in our schools, taking care of our children, feeding our children, transporting our children, and helping to educate them. ESPs typically need to work a second or third job to make ends meet. And I will also note that ESPs are typically the most racially diverse group of workers in our schools. The goal of Senate File 1318 is to improve the learning environment in Minnesota schools by reducing staff turnover and encouraging non-licensed educators to build their skills and experience to even better serve our children. This bill will secure a living wage, affordable health care, because we currently have some ESPs in our schools who on payday have to pay the school back because health care costs more than what they make. And this bill will also offer paid training to our ESPs because we know that when children have all the support they need, they do better. Lastly, this bill will help retain ESPs who are committed to our students at a time when we have a statewide ESP shortage. And of course, we are asking that this bill be fully funded by the state. And with that, Madam Chair, I do have some testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Mann. It looks like our first testifier is remote. Dave Camper, come off mute, come on camera, and you introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin your testimony.
Thank you. I am Dave Camper with the Economic Policy Institute in Washington, D.C. I'm sorry, I introduced that wrong. Thank you, Senator McQuaid. I'm going to share a slideshow, but I am not going to go through the whole thing out of respect for the time of the other testifiers. And can I get a head nod from someone just to tell me they can see the slides?
We can see you. Dr. Camper.
Well, thank you, Senator McQuaid. I'm here to talk about the working conditions of education support professionals, or ESPs. Just a reminder, we're talking about teaching assistants, clerical workers, food service workers, custodial employees, bus drivers in K-12 school districts. I'm with the Economic Policy Institute in Washington, D.C., though I live here in Brooklyn Park. I've testified before this committee once before, so you know I bring a bunch of charts and graphs, but again, I'm going to be pretty quick today, and I'm not going to go over most of those charts and graphs. You have the PDFs, you can look at them, and I'm happy to answer questions either now or after the hearing. What I want to go to is I want to go to this slide here, because I think this slide here highlights the nature of the challenge of the labor market for education support professionals in Minnesota. The first two pieces of the slide, the unemployment rate and the labor force participation rate, show that Minnesota has had an extraordinary economic recovery from COVID. Minnesota's unemployment rate in certain months recently has been the lowest in the country, or the second lowest, or the third lowest. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. In addition, we have, as of December, the 6th highest labor force participation rate. And what that means is, of the people who are of theoretical working age, how many are in the labor force? At 67.9%, we're well above the national average. What this means is Minnesota is a state where people are working, where people are looking for work, and where they're finding jobs. But look at the last row on this slide. In K-12 education jobs, Minnesota has a 6.4% vacancy from before the pandemic. That's compared to just 2.4% nationally. What that means is, while our employment situation overall in Minnesota is way better than the rest of the country, for K-12 education jobs, it is below where it should be. And the reason, there's a lot of reasons why this could be, but the most simple and obvious one is compensation, is that workers are leaving ESP jobs for higher paying gigs elsewhere. This, by the way, is what in theory, you kind of want to see in a good economy, is that workers have the opportunity to leave a job and find one that offers better compensation. That's a good thing. But without some kind of significant change in the compensation level of education support professionals in K-12, we're going to continue to see deficits in staffing, and that's going to continue to be a big problem for our students, for our school districts, and for the communities they serve. I have many other slides, but I'm not going to go through them right now in the interest of time. I'll be happy to answer questions if folks have them. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Dr. Camper. Our next testifier is Annie Gibson, if you'd like to come forward. Or online, excuse me. Please come on camera, come off mute, introduce yourself for the committee and begin. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Annie Gibson, and I am a Teamsters Local 320 member. I work for South Washington County School District as a high needs ABC paraprofessional, and I'm here to testify in solid support of Senate File 1318. I am an 8+ year employee of the district, and I've worked in early childhood with 2 to 5 year olds for about 7 years, and now I'm currently in a classroom, ABC classroom, working with, right now I have 3 third graders and 5th graders, but I can have K through 5 age children. I am also a single mother of 2 kids, and you can't imagine how much this bill would hugely impact my family's life. I have health issues, and having not only the increase in wages, which the next person will speak on, but having our districts pay 100% of the premiums every month, that would just put more money in my pocket to make more opportunities to help me feed my kids, clothe my kids, and just give back more to my family. This bill will also provide an opportunity for paraprofessionals to have paid training in a couple of different ways. First, when we have new students come into our classrooms, a paraprofessional should be given time paid time to review the child's IEP and time to collaborate with the teacher on what each child's goals are. Prior to the school year starting, there should be 16 hours of paid training time for all paraprofessionals relating to their specific job, of which 8 hours should be time spent with their teacher in a classroom prepping for their students. Finally, I want to touch on the shortage that we have in this job. In order to retain people, good people, there needs to be livable wages and better working benefits. I absolutely love my job, not only for the people that I work with, but for my kids. We make a difference every day that we go to work, and I want to make a difference every day in my kids' lives. These children depend on us, they look for us, and they need us every day. A couple of weeks ago, I actually was out sick for 3 days, and when I returned, every one of my kids came up to hug me and tell me how much they missed me. Keep in mind, some of my kids don't normally hug people, so it was kind of a big deal for me, so it got me to be a little emotional about that. Our children with the IEPs are so much more successful when they have consistency in staffing. I love my kids and I look forward to seeing them every day. I take pride in building my relationships with each child, and I love being a part of a child's growth in education and social emotional well-being. We need to make this a profession, people seek out and stay for a long time. This legislation, would be a great start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gibson. Sarah Rapp, you are up next. And folks, we are on a slight time crunch today, and so I really encourage you to share your testimony, but be as concise as possible. Please introduce yourself for the record, and then you may begin your testimony.
My name is Sarah Rapp. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I was here. I'm honored to be back. I've been a cook at the high school in Hastings for 4 years, and I'm a proud member of the SEIU 284. We're still on strike, and we are beginning week 5. Unfortunately, the district won't come to the bargaining table and to reach a fair deal with us, which means the students are eating cold lunches and we're missing the kids. Like, I work at the high school, and our boys just won the wrestling state championship, and we weren't there, and it kind of sucks. And this bill, is the ESP Bill of Rights, would make it much less likely that staff like me would have to strike for basic needs like higher wages and getting paid for e-learning days. One of the big reasons I am on strike is that our wages are way too low. I make $15.05, and I don't get close to 40 hours a week. It's hard to get by on these wages as a single mom. $25 per hour would be a gigantic change for so many of us. It would mean we could care for ourselves and our families with the same care and compassion we take care for our students. And it isn't just that. If we don't see changes, even more people will leave this work. We consistently have had multiple openings during my employment with the school. At one point, we had 3 people doing the job of 8. The ESP Bill of Rights would cover a lot of important issues, but another big one for our group is making sure hourly workers get paid on e-learning days. Right now, we don't get paid on e-learning days, and unlike snow days, these don't get made up at the end of the year. That means hourly workers like us, who already are paid the least in the schools, have to take another financial hit because of something we have no control over. Passing the ESP Bill of Rights, raising wages, and making sure our jobs are treated with respect we deserve would allow me and my son some wiggle room. It would mean my job is treated with the respect it deserves. Our strike shows that we are facing a crisis. It isn't just us, it's school workers across the state. Please pass this bill. Our strike shows the crisis facing school workers because of the low wages and disrespect we are facing. We need to fix this before the staffing crisis gets worse so we can focus on what we do best, caring for our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, and I just want to say that we are standing with you all who are on strike in Hastings, and we're grateful for the work you're doing. Next, we have Caroline Long. And after that is Mary Burrows, if you want to come sit at the table and be ready to go. Caroline, please introduce yourself for the committee, and you may begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the committee. My name is Caroline Long. I'm a special education teacher with Minneapolis Public Schools, a school board member with the Robbinsdale School District, and a parent of a student who receives special education assistance support. I'm here to testify about the Educational Support Professional ESP Bill of Rights, Senate File 1318, and the critical role that ESPs have in the development, implementation, and support of our students who receive special education services. As a special education teacher, ESPs have played the role of supporting, implementing behavior plans and goals, and collecting data on students on my caseload. But more importantly, they play the role of connecting students who receive their support with their well-being, education, and sense of belonging to the larger community of the school. ESPs are the one who support students through their struggles with academics, study skills, and social-emotional skills. ESPs are there for student struggles and student small success. Without ESPs, students I have worked with would be missing out on having a school experience that is similar to their non-disabled peers and learning lifelong skills that help them be independent. As a parent, I have witnessed the confidence and comfort that ESPs have provided to my child to persist in a task and to stay in class. I can note the successful years my child had in school based on a consistent ESP. Like students I teach, my child struggled when the school could not keep ESPs due to wages that ESPs were being paid. As a school board member, I see how funds are directed in ways that do not impact student growth and development. Because training employees is expensive, and therefore the support through the state, through this dedicated funding, will help my district control cost. ESPs add so much to students, the teachers, and our educational system. But ESPs are not given the training, support, pay, or respect to continue with the job. With the increase of cost of healthcare and other living expenses and low wages they receive, it becomes a struggle for them to do the job they love and provide for their family. I'm asking that you support the Educational Professional Bill of Rights, Senate File 1318. ESPs should have their wages start at $25 an hour, which would ensure that they could work one job, because one job should be enough. Like other employees in school buildings, they should be paid during e-learning days. They should have access to affordable health care. Due to their low wages, some of these employees walk away with nothing in their paycheck due to how low their pay is and how high health care costs are. These investments in ESPs will help keep the same caring ESPs in my classroom and in our schools year in and year out. This is a retention issue. Again, I appreciate your support for the ESP Bill of Rights, Senate File 1318.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And next we are on to, is it Mary Burrows? Thank you so much. If you would state your name for the record, and then you may begin.
Okay, my name is Mary Burrows. I am the Executive Director of Human Resources for Bloomington Public Schools. I am here on behalf of Minnesota school boards and superintendents, and first want to thank you for the time-consuming work that you are doing and for listening to our concerns. I am before you today to speak about the proposed insurance premium proposal in the bill. I believe that there are ways to support employees and their families, but without significant, substantial, ongoing financial support, this will be an overwhelming cost to districts as they absorb the proposed increase, as well as higher than usual insurance renewals that are occurring now. Additionally, more employees may join our plan as public plans become more attractive than private industry, adding to districts' overall costs. In Bloomington, at a minimum, this item would cause an increase of $3 million the next 2 years if plan renewal costs didn't increase and membership remained static and no new members join our plan. Impact to classroom and programming will occur in the 24-25 school year, since our staffing and programming budget for 23-24 has already been established. This means very steep cuts the following school year, such as cuts to tenured and probationary teachers, support staff, change of teaming school models, less classroom support for EL learners, and reduction of student activities. If districts are allowed to levy any cost of this increase, it would put extra burden on local taxpayers, many of whom are not able to absorb these increases in our district, in our community. This would likely have a negative impact on future referendum renewals and cause more reductions for schools. Without permanent funding increases, either in support of this bill or other educational costs, such as an increase to formula, this additional cost, both monetarily and decrease in staffing, will be extremely difficult to implement for schools and a huge challenge the next 2 years. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Burrows. Next, we have Tim Caskey. And then Marianne Thomas, if you would like to join us up there so you can begin quickly. We have 2 more bills to be heard before we're done here.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tim Caskey. I am the Executive Director of Human Resources for ISD 728. We are the 8th largest school district in the state. I'm here representing the Minnesota school boards and the superintendents. And I am here to talk about the $25 minimum wage. First, let me say that we believe in a competitive wage and providing that to our employees. But we believe that that competitive wage should be dictated by the market and through our collective bargaining process. In addition to that, a minimum $25 wage would affect our collective bargaining agreements in that that would set the minimum, and our longevity steps would also have to be adjusted to reflect that in correlation to it. Based on that, we estimate that the cost to ISD 728 would be $3.4 million for this part of the bill. And that hits 3 major areas. The first is our community education, which is primarily a fee-based program, specifically in childcare and other community activities such as swim lessons, athletics, and so on. The increase of that would put our childcare fees as the highest in our area, making it basically unaffordable for parents for us to provide childcare for them. The second is in our food service area, and that would be a $452,000 increase. And although the state is proposing to provide meals to students, it doesn't include a la carte. That would raise those fees. To put some of this in perspective, the $1.1 million in community ed is the equivalent to 25 child care workers. And the final is our general fund. That is a $1.7 million increase. To that, and that $1.7 million would have to come from other areas in the school district. That 1.7 is the equivalent to 17 social workers, counselors, intervention specialists that we would be able to put into the classroom. Again, I thank you for your time, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Caskey. And then Ms. Thomas, if you'd like to state your full name and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Marianne Thomas, and I serve as the Director of Human Resources for the Farmington Area Public Schools. I've been in public education for 29 years, working in human resources. I'm here to testify today on behalf of school boards and superintendents on the one concern regarding one aspect of Senate File 1318. This proposed legislation in its current form and amendment requires full pay and benefits for weather-related or e-learning days to support staff starting in the 22-23 school year. Most school districts have negotiated some form of compensation for their employees, ranging from working from home on such days, performing normal work responsibilities, engaging in valuable professional development, making up the time on other non-school days performing meaningful work, either after school, even after the school year has concluded. Some employees were on vacation or used leave without pay on those days voluntarily, even before the e-learning day was called. We've had 5 such e-learning days so far in Farmington. Many of our employees have already made up some of that time, but a vast majority chose not to make up the time and chose to just take the day without pay. With carte blanche pay for such days, we won't have the opportunity to have our employees engage in professional development or make up the work doing meaningful things for students. Many of our staff also work in community education programs, and parents have already been reimbursed for those e-learning days when their students couldn't participate in the childcare or an after-school activity. So now CE, our community ed programs, would be having to pay these employees even though the revenue is no longer coming in. For Farmington, the cost of this legislation was $280,000 for these 5 days. That's the equivalent of 3.5 teachers. Even with the governor's proposal, Farmington will be looking to reduce $3 million in the 23-24 school year. So this is 3.5 teachers we would not be able to save next year. We would consider fully funding this into perpetuity for all of our employees or excluding parent-paid programs from this legislation as a possible solution. But another thing would be modifying it so that employees have the opportunity to make up the work, performing meaningful duties in order to receive pay for these e-learning days. I thank you for listening to me and considering my thoughts regarding this aspect of this bill.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. And now we're going to go on to questions and comments by members. Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just keep this really brief. Senator Mann, I really appreciate you bringing this bill for 2 reasons. One, children build strong relationships with the people that they see every day, and we can't just interchange them in and out. Like, it's not like the person that I see when we have a favorite restaurant that we go to and we see the same server. If we saw a different server, that would be okay. But if my daughter sees a different person giving her food every day at lunch, that's breaking an actual bond that she has with a safe, supportive adult. And we can't just interchange those people out and not expect it to impact students in the classroom. But the main reason I'm supportive of this is because of what was said by one of the testifiers about how this would impact taxpayers and they would have to do levies and the educational costs. We are balancing the budgets on the backs of the lowest paid workers in our districts, and that is not okay. They don't have health care. They're paying districts back for their health care. They can't make ends meet. They have 2 and 3 jobs. These are the people driving our children to school, supporting them in the classroom, giving them their food, and we can't give them health care. So this is like the bare minimum of what we should be doing, and I'm really appreciative of you bringing it forward and having these voices come share this, because some of this stuff you never know is happening until you hear it in committee. And if there's room on this bill, I'd like to sign on. Thank you for bringing it.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just a couple questions for the bill's chief author. So as a former school bus driver myself, in fact, that's how I got into what led to a very rewarding many years as a Teamster truck driver after being a school bus driver, as a commercial truck driver. I am looking at the PowerPoint presentation from the testifier from Economic Policy Institute, and I would draw attention to I guess what would it be, I'm not sure which slide it is, but it's titled, "Our ESP is older than typical workers." And I'm seeing the school bus driver graph here, and it says 66.2% of them are older than 50. And I would concur with that. In my experience, when I was becoming a school bus driver, many of my coworkers, colleagues at the time, were older and or partially retired, having retired from another profession or a related profession, and then wanting to keep themselves busy by being a school bus driver. So my question is, if you have to mandate these generally, as the data is showing, older people that are school bus drivers, is it potentially going to interfere with the income requirements that, as a retired Social Security, not being retired myself, I don't know what those requirements are, but could you potentially create a scenario where you're increasing the pay beyond a threshold that creates other consequences, tax or reduce Social Security or other benefits being received, whereby somebody will have to reduce the number of hours they're working as a school bus driver.
Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Senator Mann?
I don't know the answer to that very specific question. However, I would say that being 60% of them being older than 50 certainly doesn't mean that they're all retired or that they're getting there. I mean, 50-year-olds are decades from retiring. And as we see, unfortunately, this day and age, we have 60, 70-year-olds also unable to retire. And so these people are working well into those years because they can't pay their rent, because they can't eat, because they need to survive. And so whatever situation that may cause, I think it would be very small and inconsequential compared to paying people a living wage.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just for the record, that's pure without the basis of anything to say it's going to be small or inconsequential, but prefacing your information or comments that you don't know, that's the meaningless comment, just for the record. The next thing I would ask is, when I was training to be a truck driver, I had no commercial license at the time. And it takes many hours and days, and I don't remember how many weeks it was, but to even get qualified to get a Class B license to qualify to be a school bus driver, and the school bus endorsement, air brake endorsement, other endorsements, passenger endorsement. Would somebody then training also be mandated to be paid this wage even though they can't drive at that time?
Senator Mann?
I don't understand the question, Madam Chair.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, not everybody has a Class B if they want to be a school bus driver. They're aspiring. And if they're aspiring, they're in training. And if they're in training, they're being trained by somebody else who is qualified. So is somebody in training for the days, weeks, and however long it takes to get the Class B license and all the appropriate endorsements, are they required to also be paid $25, even though they are not actually on a bus route themselves?
Madam Chair.
Senator.
It's my understanding that if you are not employed by the school, this would not apply to you.
Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, well then, I thought that there was, is there not language in here that says if the school is contracting with other organizations, that the other organizations would have to pay the same minimum wage?
Senator Mann.
Yes, so that is contract for employment. So they have to be working for the school via a third-party contractor, not training to be something one day to work for the school.
Senator Lucero.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I see the confusion. I'll clarify my question. I come in as an aspiring school bus driver. I get employed by in this case, it was Laidlaw, was the company that the school, in fact, it was Spring Lake Park School District that was contracting with Laidlaw. That was where the district that I first drove for. And so I was an employee of Laidlaw. They were training me. I was being trained by one of their field training personnel. And so I was an employee. So my question is, I wasn't aspiring to get my Class B, not as an employee, but I was an employee. Would that person who's driving the routes and actually servicing, picking up and dropping off children, be having to be, that is now taking time away to train somebody, would the person in training who doesn't qualify to actually drive a bus route have to be paid this minimum wage?
Senator Mann.
Madam Chair, so if that person who is training is not employed through that contract to the school, then no.
And Senator Lucero, we can go round and round in this, but we have two more bills. And so I'm going to ask us to end this part of the conversation right now. And we will continue to, if you'd like to continue the discussion, you can go directly to Senator Mann and get your answers for that. We are going to lay this bill over, and so we'll continue the conversation.
I thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate that I won't go on, but I don't understand what is not clear in my question. Would a person in training have to be paid the same wage, even though they're not driving the route? I don't know what's so hard to understand about that, and I would like the answer on the record, but I understand if you want to cut it off. Thank you.
Yes, and of course, we don't have contracts in front of us for these organizations or these businesses that are training the drivers. So again, that can go on to other conversation. Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, real quick, I know we don't have a fiscal note yet on this one. Do we have any estimates at all?
Ms. Helsa. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Whoever knows the best.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Rarick for the question. No, a fiscal note has not yet been requested on this bill, and we do not have an estimate on the total statewide fiscal impact of the bill.
Thank you. Senator Mann, any last comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, just the work that our ESPs do is critical. It's critical for our properly functioning schools. We need to provide them with fair compensation and the respect that they deserve. The status quo is not working, and so we need to step up our game and compensate for that. So thank you.
Appreciate your advocacy for this group of our very valuable employees. And with that, we will renew the motion to lay this bill over. Thank you, Senator Mann. All right, we're on to Senate File 1240, Senator Putnam. Senator Putnam, if you'd like to take a seat, you can introduce Senate, we need to make a motion. Senator Baden, would you please make the motion to move Senate File 1240?
Yes, Madam Chair, so moved.
Thank you. Senator Putnam.
Madam Chair, I just have to point out, I'm sorry this is out of sequence, but Senator Putnam, I'd like you to turn around and see what just happened. So, for the record.
So, Madam Chair, members who are not familiar with Senator Swedzinski's critical eye and his tendency to bully, every time I presented a file, when he has been in the committee, everyone gets up and leaves as soon as I'm about to start to talk.
Well,
so he just
at
wanted
least
to make sure
you're
that everyone noticed
consistent,
that.
Senator Putnam. All right, you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Thanks for giving us a chance to talk about this. We met a couple weeks ago and talked about this in education policy, and I'd like to make the same melodramatic beginning as I did last time, to ask you all to think a little bit, those of you who are parents, to those early moments when you had your first kids, when you felt absolutely exhausted, perhaps a little bit lonely and a little bit isolated, not entirely sure how to do this parent thing, but absolutely certain that you didn't feel like you had the energy or the community to do it well. I had those moments when my kids were small. And I found solace and wisdom in early childhood family education. Members, ECFE is an incredibly valuable program, and I think there's a very good chance that many of you have availed yourselves of the community and wisdom that comes with ECFE. I know I would have had a much harder time and been a much worse parent without the community that I found in ECFE, without the wisdom from people who'd gone before me as parents, without the parent educator who was there to tell me some secrets, give me some hints for how to parent, and to occasionally, just occasionally, give me some sense of affirmation that I wasn't entirely ruining my children. ECFE does that for us. It's an incredibly valuable and important program. And the bill you have before you supports ECFE. It's a very simple bill, members. And early childhood education has, family education, ECFE, has been in existence in Minnesota for over 45 years, and it's available in all 327 school districts and 87 counties. This bill we have before us appropriate funds for 2 MDE staff positions and to support early childhood family education work throughout the state. It's very important for me to point out at this point that these positions existed prior. This is simply reinstating something that was doing a lot of good 20 years ago, that was cut then and needs to come back. The appropriation is for $500,000 for the upcoming year and the following year. And that work will provide for 2 folks to work at MDE who would be involved in professional development and education support, facilitating collaborations with our public and private organizations that serve families, which is something I think we all can commit to as a positive good. And lastly, assisting with marketing and outreach. That's especially important to me, Madam Chair and members, because in St. Cloud right now, 20% of the families who participate in early childhood family education are free reduced lunch. I found out yesterday that the incoming kindergarten class in St. Cloud School District is 73% free reduced lunch. There are tons of kids, tons of families who would benefit from ECFE that don't know about it. These resources will go to folks in MDE to help those in the community who could use the help of ECFE be aware that it even exists. Members, this is an important bill. I thank you for taking the time to hear it and to listen to my pals who are going to testify on its behalf.
Thank you, Senator Putnam. First, we have Ms. McKeever. If you would state your name for the record, and then you may begin.
Good morning, Chair Kunesh. It's good to see you again, committee members. Thank you, Senator Putnam, for inviting me here today to speak on behalf of Senate File 1240. My name is Sarah McKeever, and I'm a parent educator in ECFE in St. Cloud. I've been doing parent education for 15 years. Before that, I taught kindergarten for 7 years, and I'm a mom of 2 who graduated from ECFE when they were small. I'm honored to speak on behalf of my family education colleagues across the state, many of whom are in the room today. I know that you value ECFE and the relationship-based work that's been done for nearly 5 decades. Many of you, like Senator Putnam and myself, have been in ECFE classes with your own children, so you know firsthand the power of parents and caregivers coming together in a supportive environment. As the Education Finance Committee, you're well versed in the economic benefits of investing in our children in the early years. When parents come to ECFE to learn about child development and research-based parenting practices, the learning extends beyond the walls of our classrooms into homes and communities. When a parent needs more individual support, a parent educator is able to come alongside them through our home visiting program and help them navigate the early childhood system. Because of our universal access structure, ECFE is a resource for pediatricians, county agencies, early childhood screeners, child care providers, and family members to refer caregivers for education and support. These 2 state-level positions that we've proposed, along with the funding for their work, will add value in school districts and in the agencies that we collaborate with. It will centralize certain functions that each ECFE program is attempting to do in their individual districts. County home visiting nurses and providers within our regional health system are some of the enthusiastic supporters of this bill because of the state-level marketing, outreach, and collaboration that will assist their organizations and the diverse populations that they serve. We know the power of these positions because they did exist 20 years ago within the Department of Children, Families, and Learning. When this department was eliminated, so were the 2 full-time individuals with family education experience who were dedicated to supporting ECFE programs across the state. Since that time, state support has been extremely limited. Teachers and administrators came together with their own time and money to form MNAFE, the Minnesota Association for Family and Early Education, in an attempt to fill some of the gaps in state leadership. We as MNAFE are coming to you today to request the restoration of these 2 state-level positions. These leaders will communicate regularly with districts to determine their needs, including professional development, supporting program implementation, workforce development, and more. They will be at the table with other state-level leaders, collaborating to serve Minnesota families. And they will strategize with higher education institutions to position ECFE to serve Minnesota families well for another 50 years. Thank you very much, and I hope you support this file.
Thank you so much, Ms. McKeever. And Dr. Potter, if you would, oops, I'm sorry. Dr. Potter, if you would introduce yourself and then you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Education Finance Committee, Madam Chair, and a special shout out to Senator Swazinski. I just want to thank you for everything you've done for the students at Eden Prairie High School. One of those students was my daughter. Anyhow, shout out and thank you. I'm Dr. Monica Potter. I am a licensed parent educator and the supervisor of early childhood family education for St. Paul Public Schools. And yesterday, I wanted to share a little story with you. Yesterday, I was observing an ECFE dad's class. And the dads and their children were working on a project to bring down to the Capitol next week. Next week, it's Menafe's Rally Day. And I wanted to share what some of these fathers had said in class. One dad said, "My family is two tired parents, one curious, affectionate, adventurous 1-year-old. And I'm learning in ECFE how to exist and grow in this fast-changing, diverse, and complex society." Another dad wrote, "ECFE is important to my family because preparing our children for their futures and expanding their awareness of the world from their first experiences, learning how to best help their development." Another dad shared, "ECFE is important to my family because of sharing, learning through play, connections, making friends, and learning about racism and recognition of racism." Another dad wrote, "ECFE has given his family a strong start, learning about attachment parenting, routines, connections, help, learning, support, sharing, education." And I'll read just one more from another dad. "ECFE has prepared Henry to have a strong start in school. The structure of ECFE has socialized Henry to be in the world, and without it, he would have a disadvantage." So how many programs can we and do we receive such incredible high praise? A dual education program, generational program in Minnesota that's been around for only almost 50 years. Now, I'd like you to imagine ECFE continuing to be successful and reaching all families in the state, being able to be supportive and equitable for all districts throughout the state. And imagine that success for the next 50 years. To continue this positive trajectory in the state, we would love to have more support in 2 positions at MDE. With these 2 positions, we would have consistent marketing and advertising throughout the state, professional development, outreach, collaborations with more community programs serving families with young children, and imagine additional support for new coordinators, such as how to program, how to motivate staff.
Dr. Potter?
Yes.
I am so sorry to interrupt you, but I'm wondering if you could conclude quickly. We have
Sure.
about 5 minutes, and we still have one more bill to hear.
Sure. So just imagine this support and how much it would support ECFE, House File 862 and Senate File 1240. Please support these 2 positions for us. We must support children and families for their future and not our past. Thank you so very much.
Lovely, thank you so much. Members, any questions for Senator Putnam? Senator Rarick?
Thank you. One quick one. I know on Senate File 449, 2 positions, we're going to have a fiscal note of about $300,000, and this one has $500,000. Do we know why there's a difference for the 2 positions?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Rarick for the question. So with both of the bills, they do provide direct appropriations, so the authors are able to set whatever appropriation amount they would like. It's my understanding that with Senate File 1240 here, the intent is to provide both the 2 positions, but also some resources for things like marketing and outreach and facilitating with ECFE groups and other organizations. Is that correct? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Hofer. Any other questions or comments? All right, final words, Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members. Thanks to our testifiers. We had a crunch for time. This is awesome. It's not that expensive. We should give it money.
Thank you so much. And Senator Umu Verbatim renews her motion to lay this bill over. Thank you. Senator Rarick. Senator Rarick has the average daily membership minimum hours for disabled kindergarten pupil alignment to other kindergarten pupils. And you may begin when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did you move the bill, or do you want me to?
Please, you may move the bill.
I would like to move Senate File 1635 to be considered for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill.
So moved, and you may begin, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate File 1655 is a simple little fix to a problem that the administration had found a few years ago, I believe. Unfortunately, in the per pupil funding formulas, in this one, when we have a student with a disability, they are funded at a different level in the per pupil funding formulas than other students are. And this is a little technical fix that would correct that, but I believe Mr. Uni can probably describe it a little bit better than I am able to.
Thank you. Mr. Uni, would you like to step up and enlighten us?
Madam Chair, committee members, for the record, my name is Adosh Uni. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Minnesota Department of Education, and I appreciate the opportunity to provide support for an explanation for SF 1655, and to Senator Rarick for carrying this proposal. I will say this is a small but mighty ask. This may seem like a negligible fiscal impact, but it is meaningful. This bill will eliminate an unintended and inequitable disparity in funding between kindergartner students with a disability and other kindergarten students. When all-day, everyday kindergarten funding was enacted in 2013, the average daily membership, or ADM calculations, for kindergarten students with a disability were inadvertently not updated to make them consistent with the calculations for kindergarten students with a disability. Currently, kindergarten students with a disability generate slightly less general education revenue than their non-disabled peers who are served the same number of hours during the fiscal year. To generate the same ADM, a kindergartner with a disability would have to receive 875 hours of service compared to other kindergartners who must receive 850 hours. For grades 1 through 12, ADM for students with a disability is calculated in the same manner for students in the same grade level without a disability. So this bill adjusts the ADM calculation for kindergarten students with a disability by making it the same, 850 hours, as the ADM calculation for other kindergarten students. Calculating ADM for kindergarten students with a disability in the same manner as for kindergarten students without a disability will also simplify the school finance system by eliminating a separate set of ADM calculations for these students. And finally, I'll just note, as Senator Rarick mentioned, this proposal is also in the governor's 2023 budget proposal. And again, thank you for the opportunity to provide support and explanation for this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Uni. Members, questions or comments? I do have a question. Mr. Uni, maybe you can help us understand, how has this been overlooked for so long?
Madam Chair, committee members, I will note that under this administration and the last administration, this fix has been in the governor's bill almost every year that we're able to put it forward, and somehow it just doesn't end up being in the final agreement for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I also think it is just the nature of being a very small fix. I mean, it is a very small amount, as you can see from the bill, and I think that's just the nature of it. But it has been in the governor's bill for each budget cycle.
Okay, well, let's make sure we get it done this year. Any comments or questions? All right, final word, Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I know our fiscal note isn't ready. The governor's note on it is about, what is it, $75,000 and then 85,000. So it's a very small amount to make this fix. So just hoping we can have it included. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, well, let's plan on doing that. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for sticking around for the last couple of minutes. We are adjourned.